we continue our preview of the WNBA teams. And this time, we're looking at the New York Liberty, the defending WNBA champions. We're looking at the Liberty. We're seeing what's on tap for 2025 for the New York Liberty. Do they still have the hunger? Do they still have the drive? Do they still have the want to in here to do it again? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, powered by Coming Out of the Podcast. We talk facts over feelings. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Shoma, aka Rudy the Hammer. And this is the third preview I'm doing in my series of WNBA previews. As I told you before, I'm going to just be going randomly picking teams. And this time it's the New York Liberty. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And of course, for you, those of you who are back again, I greatly appreciate you. Leave a comment, like the video. Let everyone know where to find this awesome podcast. We are here because you have helped us get here. So I'm very, very thankful to you. Let's just jump on this one, man. There's only one way that you can look at this for the New York Liberty. You win a championship or you're going to go the other direction. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. There's only one direction from here, and it's typically down. When you win a championship, where else can you go? You're not going to go up. So either you repeat or you're going down. And in this case, my feeling is the New York Liberty are going to go down. There is going to be a letdown for this franchise. They won a championship that, I mean, quite frankly, they probably shouldn't have won. If not for some very, very friendly officiating in Brooklyn, New York. Probably shouldn't have won it. But they did. And we shall see what's next. They have pretty much their entire starting roster, most of their starting lineup coming back, except for Courtney Vandersloot, who was back and forth. They return Sabrina Ionescu. They return Jonquel Jones. They return Leonie Fevich. They return Brianna Stewart. So you have a lot of players coming back. They return Benaji, I can't pronounce her name, Benaji Laney Hamilton. So everyone's back in their starting lineup, but they don't have that much of a bench. They are very thin on their bench. They did bring over Isabel Harrison from Chicago, so she can be a backup off the bench for the front line. They did bring back Nayara Sadali, who, I mean, she was okay. She wasn't great. She averaged 3.5 points per game. It wasn't like she was, lighting the world on. I mean, she's career 3.5. Last year, she averaged 4.9 points per game. She only played 26 games. Not like she was lighting the world on fire. Not a lot of moves that they made overall. Outside of bringing in Isabel Harrison, not a lot of moves. That's just the reality here. I'm just looking at their roster. Not special. Just not special. It's really not. It's the same starting. It's the same group that's starting the game. But I will tell you this: having watched Brianna Stewart over the last 2 months, I get it. She's considered a great WNBA player, but I just don't see it. I don't see what makes her so good, and I think that she has been exposed in Unrivaled, and I know people will say it doesn't matter, but I think it does. When you look at someone like Brianna Stewart, she's been forced into just bad shots, not consistent. Just consider this, for example. Brianna Stewart's a player who has shot 47% for her career in the WNBA. She's a player who shot 45.8% this past season from the field. and she's shooting under 43% in Unrivaled. If you want to be exact, 42.6% in Unrivaled. In a league, in a game in which you're open almost all the time. I've watched her miss so many easy shots in this league that it's utterly embarrassing. And I just don't see how people can watch this and not be, I don't know, able to see some holes in her game and ways that you can attack her differently that maybe you didn't know about before watching her in Unrivaled. Because I'm sure most of the WNBA players are watching this. They have to be watching this. I mean, I think if you're a smart basketball player, you would watch it because you want to see tendencies. You want to see what they're doing in one-on-one action. You want that you might not otherwise see in a 3-on-3 situation. You're going to see skills that you might not otherwise know someone has because they're forced to do it in 3-on-3. But for Breanna Stewart, you're seeing a person who just doesn't look like she cares all that much, despite the fact that she's one of the two founders of this league, which makes it even more absolutely outrageous. So I'm thinking she's gonna have a drop. I'm thinking she's gonna have a drop, and you got you lose Courtney Vandersloot. Jonquel Jones is back. She's not getting any younger. She's 31 years old now. But I'm gonna tell you this: watching Sabrina Ionescu make all kinds of freaking excuses about why she didn't choose to play hard. She was horrendous in Game 5 against the Minnesota Lynx. If they had lost that game, Sabrina Ionescu would never live that game down. She'd be living the life that John Starks lives. People in New York will never forget his 2 for 18 in game 7 against the Rockets in 1994, whatever year it was, 4 or 5, whatever year that was. They're never going to forget that. They never have, and they never will. He lives in infamy for that. No matter what he did for that franchise, that 2 for 18 haunts him forever. It just does. And she would have had that happen to her if it wasn't for some really bad officiating in the final 5 seconds of that game that allowed the game to go into overtime. Just a tragedy for the Minnesota Lynx in that series. But I have to look at this New York Liberty team, and they don't have the depth. There's no bench depth on this team. They don't have a legitimate backup point guard. They don't have a legitimate backup two. They have Isabel Harrison as a backup. I mean, if you look at their roster right now, they show what these people averaged last year. Now, I think Leonie Fibich will get better. But you have an Esmery Martinez. You have Rebecca Gardner. You have Markeisha Davis, who's a guard, at 1.2 points behind Caitlin Davis, who's a rookie at a Southern Cal. I mean, these players didn't do anything. They've done nothing. So what are you going to get from them? Who the hell knows? There's a lot of unanswered questions. Maybe some of these people that have done nothing in their career will show you something. Nyara Sabali was a nothing last year. She was whatever. And then in that last game, she played probably the best game she played all season. Kennedy Burke. There's not much. There isn't much in terms of off of their bench. So they're going to be very, very heavily looking at their starters to do the work. They're looking at starters to do the work, I think losing Caleb Thornton hurts them. Courtney Vandersloot losing her hurts them because they don't have a real point guard. They don't have a real point guard on this team. If you want to be completely transparent here, Sabrina Ionescu is not a point guard. She's a combo, and she's more of a 2. But she's going to be playing point guard this year for this team, unless they make a deal. She is their point guard. Big difference between her and Courtney Vandersloot in terms of point guard skill. Especially when you're needed to score, so they need her to score. But her lack of giving a crap in Unrivaled has also spoken volumes about her character. That character I think her character's taking a hit. People may ignore it and they'll say, "Oh, well, they all knew what was going on." I don't think that Unrivaled could possibly have known that she was in a walk with 3 games left. I don't think they could possibly have known that she's in a walk with 3 games left. She's one of your 2 most marketable players in the entire thing, and she walked. Would she have walked if her team was any good? Probably not. But because they stink, she walks. They stink largely because of her, because she's never been there. She's not been available. They've had a nonstop mismatch in the lineup or whatever with that Phantom team. But I gotta wonder what's going on with Sabrina Ionescu. I gotta wonder because I don't see a killer savage dog in her. Like I see a savage dog in Chelsea Gray. I don't see a savage dog in Sabrina Ionescu. And if you're going to be defending a championship, you got to be prepared for everybody's haymakers. You got to be ready every night for the team that you're playing to bring it 1000%. They're coming with their best. They're not here to play games with you. And I think that's something that the New York Liberty are going to have to find out real early, real fast, and see if they have it in them, because they're no longer the hunter. They're the hunted. They're the ones that are being hunted. They're the ones that have what everybody else wants, and that's a championship. They want to take out the champs. They want to take out the champs, and many of us believe that they got gifted that championship, but they're still the champions nonetheless, and people are coming for what they've got, and people want to take them out, and they got to show that grit, that grime. And I don't know that Sabrina's got that grit and grime in her. I don't know that Breanna Stewart's got that grit and grime in her anymore. She looks like she's a shell of what she used to be. I know she averaged 20 points a game last year. I know she averaged 8.5 boards. I know all that. I'm watching her on Unrivaled, and she looks like she hasn't played like she doesn't know how to play basketball. She's like 7th or 8th in scoring or whatever. She's averaging 16 points in a game where she's got layup drills half the damn game, and she's missing them. She's just not playing well. Maybe she is suited for 5-on-5 and not for 3-on-3, but she looks like certified garbage in Unrivaled. And I don't know if that's going to carry over or not, but I know that I'm looking at 2 players on their team who are 2 of them bigger headaches in Unrivaled, than one being a quitter in Ionescu and the other one being Breanna Stewart, who just has looked like straight trash. Like I said, I think Phoebe will get better. John Cole Jones getting older. We'll see. This is not a young team. This is an older team. This will be one of the older teams in the league. One of the older teams. They're not a young team. If you look at their squad, outside of Phoebe and the rest, now they have a bunch of young players in there who haven't played. So it's like what they're relying on are older players, vets. They're relying on a lot of vets. There's no young player in there. Now, they do have the number 7 pick. And every single mock draft has them drafting Cheyenne Sellers out of Maryland. So she could be a player that makes an immediate impact for them because they don't have much. They have nothing coming off their bench. I don't know if she would start. She probably wouldn't start initially, but she could at some point. She's a 6'2". She's a 6'2" guard. She averages 14.9 points per game this year on 48.1% shooting. She's shooting 44.4% from 3. They badly need some shooters because this team doesn't have shooters. Playing for Maryland. Maryland's a really good squad. So every single mock draft has her going there. Career her 3-point shooting for her career is 35.1, but this year it's gone up a lot from 31.8 to 44.4. Her 2-point field goal shooting is 49.1. She's been pretty solid there all the time. But this is a player who could be an impact player for them because they don't have a whole lot. coming off that bench. So I don't see the New York Liberty repeating. I mean, they're going to be good because they just have a lot of talented players, and they do have an experience factor that will greatly benefit them. But people are going to be hunting for the New York Liberty, and I'm looking at the New York Liberty probably finishing as the number 3 team in the WNBA. I got their record at 33-11, so that's the range that I'm looking at, probably in that 32, 33, 34 win season, which they won 32 games last year, but they were 32-8. Um, I believe that was their record in the regular season, that they were 32-8. I'll just confirm it before we wrap this video up. 32-8, yeah. They were 32-8, 16-4 at home, 16-4 on the road. They were pretty consistent. Um, so they're still going to be a good team. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to be a bad team. And could they repeat? Sure, they could repeat. It's a possibility, but I don't see it happening. I don't think they have the depth, and I don't think they have the want to in them. And I think you have players that are like Sabrina and Brianna, who I don't think really Stewart really have that grit left in them. I don't see it. So yeah, I'm looking at something like 33-11. That's where I got them pegged in at. And that's it for the New York Liberty. 33-11, the number 3 team in the WNBA. And we will move on to the next team. You'll find out who it is. I haven't even thought about it yet, but you'll find out next, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. But remember, member live tonight, 9 p.m., full live, 10 p.m. So don't miss it. This is Rudy's Rant. Come on now, the podcast. We talk facts over feelings. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment. I greatly appreciate y'all. Come on now.